Hello and welcome back viewers to At Ease No Media, where we discuss media related topics at ease. In today's video, we will be discussing about the concept of mass communication. So what is mass communication? As we can see in the screen that mass communication can be defined as the process of creating, sending, receiving and analyzing message to large audience via verbal and written media like the television, newspaper, radio, internet and so on. So the meaning of mass communication is it is a process of creating or sending or receiving any message to a large audience. Not only a large audience, it can be to a small audience as well. Irrespective of the number, mass communication means, as the name suggests, communicating with the mass. It can be verbal communication as well as it can be written communication. Communication can happen on television, newspaper, radio, internet, in today's new media like vlogging, blogging, YouTube videos and whatnot. And after that, we are seeing that before the introduction of mass communication, which means before mass communication was introduced, people used to manually communicate with each other. And the process was very time consuming and it had its own limitations as well. So now we know the examples of mass communication is news telecast published on newspaper, television shows, mass media, different new media channels. So mass communication is not only limited with newspaper and television in today's world, but mass communication is anything, any people communicating with the mass is known as mass communication, be it in any media platform. Now moving on to the next part, now we will be learning about the different definitions of mass communication according to the scholars. So first we will be understanding about the definition of Diffler and Dennis definition. So let's read it out. As you can see, mass communication is the process in which personal communicators use media to disseminate messages widely, rapidly and continuously to arouse intended meaning in large and diverse audience in attempt to influence them in a variety of ways. So the main meaning of this is mass communication, as discussed in the previous slide, is a process in which professional communicators, not only professional communicators, anyone can be communicating with each other. So it means any message which is processed via aiding the media to disseminate message. That means to send some message widely, rapidly as well as continuously to arouse immediate meaning. The message must contain a definite meaning in large and diverse audience. Audience can be large as well as audience can be diverse in attempt to influence them. That means mass communication, the main purpose of mass communication is to influence the audience. Now moving on to Dr. Joseph R. Dominic, he states that mass communication is the process in which a complex organization with the aid of one or more machines produced and transmit public message that are directed at large, heterogeneous and scattered audience. So he has emphasized on the audience which is large, which is scattered as well as heterogeneous. So mass communication means communicating to the mass in a large platform, where Dr. Joseph R. Dominic has emphasized on heterogeneous and scattered audience. We know every audience mindset is different, but it is the role of a good communicator to influence the scattered audience and to spread or disseminate a message in such a way, in such a technical way, such that every audience can understand the message which is being disseminated. Now moving on to the last and third definition of Dennis MC, as we can see over here, is mass communication comprises the institutions and techniques by which press, radio, television, film, and in modern world it can be new media as well, to disseminate symbolic contents. Symbolic content means the message. To whom? Whom to disseminate? To the large, heterogeneous and widely dispersed audience. because audience is always heterogeneous. Not every audience is having the same mindset. So it is the role of the mass communicator to disseminate the symbolic content, or in short, to disseminate the message to the large audience. Thus, to put it straight and put it simple, mass communication means communicating or disseminating a coded message or a symbolic message to the audience. Now, the audience can be determined as heterogeneous and large group. To put it simple, mass communication means disseminating message. Who is disseminating the message? The sender is disseminating the message. To whom it is being disseminated? To the receiver. That means to the audiences the message is being disseminated. Now quickly moving on to the next part where we will be discussing about the meaning of mass. You might be wondering that what is the meaning of mass? To put it straight and honestly, mass has got no definition. Mass has got no characteristics. Mass can live in any geographical periphery. Mass can live, the people, the group of people living in India is also considered as mass. The group of people living in South Africa is also considered as mass. So mass cannot be defined. Mass has got separate legal entities, and hence we call it an heterogeneous. It's not homogeneous because every individual's liking, disliking, thought process is different. So mass, to put it straight, mass is a mixed term. Hence mass cannot be defined. Mass has got no characteristics. They don't have any unique identification. Mass can live together. Mass can be living separated. It depending on different class, different locations. But they are a large number of audiences. As far as mass communication is concerned, mass can be defined as audiences. As audience cannot be categorized into groups, mass also can't be categorized into groups. They are a large number of audiences. For mass media, they vary from one to another medium. Because we know every medium has different policies and target audiences. So mass is separate for separate entities. Now we know what is the meaning of mass. So let's quickly move on to the types of mass communication. So mass communication can broadly be divided into three parts. Number one, micro and macro communication. Number two, capitalistic and socialistic pattern of mass communication. Number three, Islamic and non-Islamic approach of mass communication. So first thing first. First of all, let's understand the meaning of micro and macro communication. Any individual interacting with his higher official, subordinates or colleagues in terms of any message or information, it is called micro communication. The term micro means small. That means communication within a small group, within an office. Whereas when communication is intended towards general people, it is called macro mass communication, such as communication happens to consider external and large people outside any organization. To put it simple, micro communication means communication within any organization. That means the internal publics are concerned. And macro communication means, as the name suggests, large number of people are involved. Now moving on to the next part, which is the capitalistic and socialistic pattern of mass communication. To understand this type of mass communication, we must know about the flow of information and news. One is controlled and other is not that much controlled. So we know the basic difference between capitalism and socialism. So as far as capitalistic and socialistic pattern of mass communication is concerned, in capitalistic society, market plays a major role in the economy, where people have freedom to raise their voice. Therefore, there are free flow of information. In capitalistic mass communication, there is free flow of information. On the other hand, in socialistic economy, the mass communication is subject to various limitations or regulation imposed. Who is imposing these limitations or regulations? It is imposed by the state, where the information or the news cannot freely move, as state always has a control over them. People have little and limited voice, and therefore mass communication is always found to be problematic in a socialistic form of mass communication. Now quickly moving on to the next part, that is Islamic approach and non-Islamic approach of mass communication. Goods which are prohibited in Islam cannot be advertised in the Muslim countries. For example, wine is forbidden in Islam. So, any kind of advertisement related to wine is totally prohibited and goes against Islam. In non-Islamic countries, there are no such restrictions and therefore wine is widely produced, advertised and consumed there. Now quickly moving on to the next part of the video where we will be discussing about the relation between mass communication and journalism. By now we know the meaning of mass, we know the meaning of communication. Now we all are familiar with the term journalism. So let's find a similarities or the relation between journalism and mass communication. To put it straight, as you guys can see in this particular screen, that journalism means writing for newspaper or magazine. In today's modern world, journalism also means writing for digital media as well. And in the second part, we can see that it is the communication of information through writing periodicals or newspapers or in new media. Now, this is writing for whom? Writing for the curious people, because predominantly and the main nature, human nature is curiosity. So, to meet the demand and supply of curiosity, we the journalist creates news, produces news stories, videos to satisfy the curiosity of the public. Journalism is the occupation of reporting, writing, editing, photography or broadcasting news or of conducting any news organization as a business. Now quickly moving on to the last part of this video, that is the types of journalism. Journalism or reporting can be divided into many bits. Agriculture journalism, political journalism, crime journalism, sports journalism, entertainment journalism, weather journalism, health journalism, education journalism, etc. So these all are pretty much self-explanatory. So this was it with today's lecture of journalism and mass communications basic concept. Thank you for watching. Keep supporting At Ease No Media.